Well, this is nice and timely now, isn't it? While it was started before Liv Morgan's recent reappearance on Raw, she has become the talk of the town ever since she interrupted the Bobby Lashley-Lana wedding. And can you believe that didn't go to plan? There is a lot more to learn about the former Riot Squad member though, and this seems like a good time to remind ourselves of that so we have a fuller idea of who this performer is. After all, there's every chance her insertion into the aforementioned love triangle becomes what she's best known for. Who knows how that's gonna go? I'm Simon from What Culture. Please do hit that subscribe button. This is 10 things you didn't know about Liv Morgan. Number 10. Watching wrestling was a childhood luxury. Liv was one of 6 children, and horrendously, her father passed away when she was young. That meant her mother had to bring up 4 girls and 2 boys all by herself. My word, should that get all the respect in the world, I can't even imagine it. That is true strength. Morgan has talked about how difficult her upbringing was due to the tough financial situation her family found themselves in, but the one luxury they could afford was cable TV. This meant Liv was able to watch and fall in love with pro wrestling at a young age, while also deciding that John Cena was the greatest sports entertainer in history. And as much as that will always shock the more hardcore adult fan, it is a common tale. There was another member of the roster, however, that only took her interest, but also ignited a passion to try and walk in their footsteps. That person? Well, number 9, her love of Lita. Amy Dumas was a hero to Liv Morgan, be it the way she dressed or how she would kick both men and women's asses. Lita's tomboy style spoke to Liv because it proved she was this huge wrestler, but interestingly, wasn't wearing nice clothes. Given that Morgan didn't have nice clothes either, it served as a way to make her believe that she could follow in the same path. The fandom got so extreme, and yes, that is a pun because I'm hilarious, Lita surpassed Cena as Liv's favourite, which is why when Morgan worked the Royal Rumble in 2018, she must have almost fallen over when her hero was also in that match. So it's very much a story of seeing yourself in somebody else and using that to achieve your own dreams. Rather inspiring, really, and just goes to show how the smallest things can trigger huge reactions on the other side. Make sure you believe in yourself. Number 8, her siblings started a backyard wrestling federation. At TLC 2018, Liv Morgan took a pretty big bump through a table. The Riot Squad never got to do much, so this felt like a big deal. There was even more to it when you did some research. For you see, this was Morgan's daily routine when she was a kid because her and her siblings started a backyard federation when they were younger. The Morgans constructed their own wrestling ring, and it got so popular people from school would head over after classes to watch the matches. As Liv remembers it, she was taking powerbombs and pedigrees like it was her job, even though she was like 4. That's an exaggeration. It stands to reason that you should not try this at home because it is dangerous, but when you see Morgan talk about it and you see all that passion, you can't help but smile just a little bit. It would without doubt sow the seeds for what was to come down the line, but sometimes being stupid actually pays off. Number 7, she didn't work the indie scene. Oddly enough, when that died down, other interests stole away Morgan's time. She started to hit the gym hard, did some modeling, and entered cheerleading competitions, but wrestling wasn't top of her list. When WWE spotted her at Joe DeFranco's gym in New Jersey, though, things changed. Then boyfriend Enzo Amore helped set up a meeting, and we were off to the races. She passed the tryout and got taken into NXT's ranks, but that did mean her wrestling experience started under that banner. For those looking for footage of her pre-WWE, it simply doesn't exist. She is built from the ground up, like a AAA video game. That is something that deserves a tip of the hat too. While plenty of talent come from that world, a huge plus of the Performance Center is that they can get people from all walks of life and get them ready for the big leagues. This is just a damn good example. Number 6, she dropped out of high school. Everybody has a different path to the top, and Liv Morgan saw her leave high school before she was done. She had missed so many days due to her family situations and personal issues that her school wanted her to repeat her sophomore year. That didn't sound too appealing, and in her own words, it sounded so she just dropped out. A few days later, she started working at Hooters as well as doing modeling for the chain, but openly admits when she did attend classes, she found it easy. This wasn't a case of struggling, so she left. It was just her outside life that made all this harder than it needed to be. Understandably, this put Morgan in a place where she hated the misconceptions about people who go in similar directions. She wasn't dumb or stupid just because she didn't finish school. People assuming otherwise really pissed her off. In her case, Liv chose to leave instead of repeating a whole year of her life. Number 5, her first experience in an airport wasn't the best. That's a weird thing to say, right? Barely makes sense, and yet here we are. But before she had her first tryout with WWE, Morgan had never been on a plane. So as she was traveling from New Jersey to Florida, she became overwhelmed by the experience and ended up crying in the departure lounge because she thought she'd lost her luggage. Liv had no idea there was a difference between checked and carry-on bags, so panicked when she saw others in the airport with their suitcases. It didn't help that she couldn't read any of the signs because she wasn't able to afford glasses, and she had to message her trainer Joe DeFranco, who was able to guide her through. Morgan laughs about this now, but readily admits it was pretty intimidating for an 18-year-old who had no clue what was going on, and you can kinda see why. Just goes to show you never know what kind of hurdle's gonna be chucked into your path. Number 4, she struggled at first with WWE life. When Liv finally arrived in WWE 2, it didn't get much easier. Given that during her upbringing she'd never really had much structure in her life, suddenly being put into an environment when she needed that meant she wasn't able to instantly adapt. She would be constantly late for training sessions, and when she was punished went into rebellion mode, as she had been doing since day one. While officials made sure to keep her in line, they were always well aware of what they were dealing with, so saw Morgan as not only a work in progress when it came to being a wrestler, but also someone who needed some life direction to boot. It certainly helped, but now Liv is well aware that she was probably a constant headache for management. At first, it wasn't that uncommon for her to be an hour late when she had some sort of WWE responsibility, and it took her a little bit of time to figure out why that wasn't a good idea. Number 3, she was more nervous about entrances than matches. It's fair to say that as we have this chat, Liv Morgan hasn't hit her peak. She's still very much a project, but does have a bright future ahead of her. Even with that though, it wasn't getting in the ring and tangling that freaked her out, it was entrances. During an interview, she admitted that it was how she would get to the squared circle that got in her head to the point it would keep her up at night. Morgan knew to make it in WWE it was more about just headlocks, and that having the full package was tantamount to your success. That included what goes down after your music hits, especially as for many it would be the first time they'd see her, and initial impressions count for a lot. It became a source of anxiety for her, although today she seems to be over that. I mean, I have no idea what's next given the end of 2019's adventures, but if you can do that, I imagine you can do anything. Taking a step back from this for just 1 second, Liv Morgan was onto something, because think of all the characters and wrestlers that have gone through the WWE that you only like because of their entrance. I'm not saying anything bad about Bobby Roode, he is a very good professional wrestler, but as soon as he got that glorious theme song, he went from kind of over to fully over. Hopefully by the time you hear this, we will learn more about Liv Morgan's new character, and let's also keep our fingers crossed that she has some pretty badass entrance music and that her entrance lights up your eyes, because it will go to show that all this worrying actually paid off. Number 2, she didn't have a win on TV for over a year. Morgan debuted for NXT during the TakeOver Rival event on February 2015. She was dubbed Marley, slowly started to make her way through the ranks, and eventually got a new ring name. While she would get the odd victory on house shows here and there though, she didn't get a win on television until the summer of 2016. There she teamed with Carmella and Nikki Cross to beat Alexa Bliss, Daria Berenato and Mandy Rose on the 13th of July edition of NXT. That Forgotten 6-woman tag was a landmark moment for Morgan, however, because it was the first time she was on the winning side before she started to get some single victories later on. I mean, you could even argue it's almost 2 years given that she signed for the company in October 2014. For anyone who thinks she didn't pay any dues, she definitely did. Obviously, the natural ending to all of this was being called up to Raw and SmackDown as part of the Riot Squad, but even then, can you remember any significant victories she actually got? No, you can't, because Liv Morgan and the Riot Squad weren't really treated as some would have hoped. That is a silver lining given that she's just had this recharacterization though, because hopefully we're finally going to understand what Morgan is all about and if she has the chops to make it as a top draw pro wrestler. All the potential is there, she just needs good booking and a good story, and you know how that goes in WWE. However, let's keep everything crossed for her. As you're already starting to learn, she's had a pretty tough upbringing, and it's always nice to see those live out their dreams, especially when life seemed to have another plan. Number 1, the blue tongue gimmick was an accident. The blue tongue Liv Morgan is no more. Not like it sent her off into superstardom anyway, but if you liked it tough, it's more dead than Zack Ryder's win record. It all did come by accident though. Before a match one day, Liv ate a Jolly Rancher which turned her tongue blue. Catching it before she got to the ring, she thought it actually looked quite good, so decided to go with it, but she still expected somebody to pull her aside afterwards and tell her not to do it again. But guess what? That didn't happen, and then she just decided to go with it. It also meant she could enjoy a tasty sweet right before each fight, and in terms of lists like this, it gives us a nice story to wind things up, which we have just done. Blue tongue, Jolly Ranchers, lovely sweets all round. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Liv Morgan. And who knows, maybe one day she will return to having a blue tongue, sometimes make it a green tongue, sometimes make it a yellow tongue, and for good occasions, she could even have a white tongue as well. Not really sure how that would tie into her persona, character, or wrestling, but it is WWE, damn it, and you can do whatever the hell you please. Know of anything else that people don't really know about Liv Morgan? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Then head over to whatculture.com and read yourself some articles, and follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. And while you are here on What Culture Wrestling's YouTube channel, why not watch some more videos? My name is Simon from What Culture. If you're watching this early in January, Happy New Year. I will speak to you soon.